If you are looking for a job abroad, you are in the right place. Welcome to Start Your International Career, your guide to finding a job abroad. In this episode, we have Fabio Maschi, who is a VP of Software and AI at IGEM, and who is originally from Brazil and now is working and living in Switzerland. Fabio, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Fabio, before we go into details in your experience, can you briefly explain what do you do at your current job and what did you study?
Sure. So at IGEM, I oversee all the software needs and executions that we have at IGEM Foundation. I manage a team and we have many activities. So everything that is how to operate every software, all the software that we use to operate and run the foundation, we are doing it in-house. We also have some events, so we developed all the software that we need in-house and architecturing the solutions and so on. My studies, I started from electronics and electrical engineering, and I moved up the stack, so more software and computer science in the end for my PhD.
Okay. So you finished this degree and then you went to pursue a PhD.
Yes.
After that.
Yeah.
All right. A PhD of what?
Computer science.
Computer science.
Yeah.
All right. So you knew your stuff. You started with a branch of engineering, but then you realized that actually what you wanted was more in the IT area.
I mean, the full story is that I started with computer engineering, which is kind of hardware and software. Then in France, it was very vague, like electro and electronics engineering, systems and developments. And then in the end, I went to the PhD for computer science.
All right. And this first part of your education, you did in Brazil?
Yeah, 1.5 years, 2 years in Brazil.
Okay. And then the rest?
Then I did 3 years in France. Then I did 1 exchange year in London. Then back to France. And then I finished and started the PhD here in Zurich.
Okay, so you didn't stop moving.
Yeah, I tried everything that I could.
It's difficult to track. And okay, I'm super excited because you're the first non-European person or the first person coming from Brazil that I have in the podcast. So
okay, cool.
Actually, there's a lot of tips that I'm sure you can give to people that are in Brazil and that are studying over there. So these studies, how did you make up your mind to come to Europe and finish your studies in France, for example? How did that happen?
So basically, I was in Brazil and doing my studies, and I had the opportunity to do an exchange year to France. So I came to France, I studied, and then in the end, I had the opportunity to validate everything that I did in Brazil here and kind of get the same level of degree. And just continue here and kind of transfer. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I transferred. And then, and I was in France, so I finished my bachelor's level there. Then during the master's, I had another opportunity to do another exchange year in London, and then I did. So it was just taking all the opportunities that appeared and just saying, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the attitude. When you say, I had the chance, it sounds so easy, right? But I'm sure there was a big process behind. How did you hear of these opportunities? How did they happen?
It's interesting because in all the cases, so in Brazil and in France, when I had these two opportunities to go abroad, to move abroad for the exchange years, I had many friends who also had the same opportunities, and they're like, no, I prefer just to stay. So actually, it is surprising, but it was actually fairly simple to apply and just get it. Back then, I didn't speak anything, any level of French. I had very minimal, no French level. I did like one semester of French, and then I moved to France. In UK, I knew a bit better English, but it was very limited. Mm-hmm. So basically, in both cases, many friends. It was quite easy. They didn't have enough people to send. Actually, in the end.
That's crazy.
Yes. I don't know how the things are now. Like this was back 2014. Then the other one was 16. But yeah, I would say I was I'm not the only one, but among the few ones that wanted to move abroad.
That's crazy because I received so many messages of people saying, I want to move abroad, but I want to find a program, and it's so difficult to get into these programs. And now you're saying actually there was not a lot of competition.
So yeah, it was always programs from the universities. They were organizing and they were preparing. So just be aware of them, apply, follow. Of course, there's a lot of working, preparing the applications, the form, like all the documents that you have to send. But if you do it, and at least for me, it worked well.
So it was not a special opportunity or a special platform for education abroad. It was really just the university program that was offered.
Yeah, and here in Europe, it was Erasmus. So it still exists.
Okay, so it's this kind of like Erasmus for Europe, but the one in Brazil, the program in Brazil.
Yes.
Okay. All right, interesting. Thanks for sharing. And regarding the PhD, how was the application process? Why did you decide to pursue a PhD here in Zurich, especially in the ETH, that for the people that don't know is where Einstein gave classes, so that already sets the bar really high. Why did you decide to pursue this?
There are two parts of this. One, first of all, I never thought, and during my bachelor's and partially half of my master's, I never thought about doing a PhD. I always said, okay, I'll just go to industry, do some work in the companies. It was during it's true. It was during my master in London where I had some excellent teachers in doing research and doing teaching at the same time. And they were excellent in both. And just by the way they explained their research, how their research relates to what we were learning at that time, I said, maybe I should try. Then I did like a double degree in France. One was kind of research related, and that was kind of sure for me that it would be nice to do the PhD, and it's something that I really don't regret. The PhD, I think it's something that you basically you're going to work for the rest of your life unless you earn the lottery, and the PhD is just a time just before work, like between studies and work, that you can do something different, that you can focus on a problem that has different implications, different framework. There's not like someone who needs a product, or you're not. The work is quite different. You're solving problems here, and you can go really deep into that subject, and still, at least here in Switzerland, it is very good. It's considered as work. You are working during your PhD. It's not that you're just a student.
So you're getting paid.
It's a formal contract, and you're contributing to the pensions and so on. So it's a formal job. And why Zurich? It's a long story, but I applied to one university that I really wanted. The interview went terrible. Terrible. I wanted it so badly.
Long story short.
It was really, really bad. And I got to the interview, but I failed. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? And then a friend who was working with me at the time, he said, wow, why don't you try ETH? And then why not? It was quite unknown for me. I applied. I properly sent the application, but just saying, I'm not getting in. I'm just doing the minimal. And they replied. I had the interview. I got the offer. And then I was like, okay, oh my God, I got it. Let me check. That day or that week, I got actually the acceptance of the offer that I wanted.
The other one that went terrible.
Yes. And this was, I think, the worst week of my life. Trying to know which one would. It's a quite life-changing choice that you have to make. Different countries, different universities, different perspectives. So it was a terrible week for me to make my mind. One advice that I can give, and this was very helpful for me. So I had these two. I said, okay, it's impossible for me to make just my own assessment right now here and without any clue of these decisions. So which university to accept. So I decided to go each one to. I was in France. I was living in France. So I came one day. I went one day to London to pass the full day with the students, with the professor, with everyone, and then make my mind to, okay, what's the one that I want to choose? And basically trying to get as much information to make my choice. Not that it's the best choice, that I don't think it is like there's a right choice or a bad choice, but just to make sure that I won't regret later that I didn't have enough resource to make this decision.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, as of today, given all this knowledge, I can make this choice and I won't never regret because I have the knowledge won't change. So this was something that I really try to, if you can, visit the universities, visit both or companies if it's
that's a good
job.
one. It makes sense, right?
Really try to spend a day with your, let's say, future colleagues, see how it is the environment, how is the atmosphere. This can
It will make the difference,
yes.
Because it's a decision, a life decision, because you're spending the next 3, 4, 5 years there. So one day won't harm you, right?
Yeah.
Neither you or your pocket. You can go there, spend some time, spend some money to visit and get the vibe of the university. And it's funny you say it was the most terrible week of your life, but what a problem to have, right? Like,
sure,
it's one of these good problems to have.
Yeah, but it's like this. You really don't see in this perspective, right?
Yeah.
When you have to make a decision, you don't see the yes, you see the no that you're giving to the other one, right? That's the fear. Like, are you saying no to something that can be quite nice, and you will never know it?
Yeah.
And well, that's life.
Yeah, it's another life.
It's another one.
And what helped you stand out in the application for both universities? Do you think you had something special that you would say, this helped me a lot, and I would recommend people to prepare this kind of stuff?
I imagine, you don't get much feedback on the application process for these two. But I imagine that for the first one, honestly, I don't know. I think just the projects that I had done before, so kind of side projects that I did during during my bachelor's and master's, I guess this helped me just to make something different, to show that I'm genuinely interested in topics in technology, and I am able to do things not as a robot, but something that, you think you're curious. I think this can show. Anything that can show your curiosity is quite good. For ETH, I think that because I was like, okay, I failed my interviews, I don't care. I passed the interview with my professor here, quite relaxed. I was just like, if I don't get it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite genuine and shared my knowledge. I showed everything. I guess just being relaxed quite helped.
Yeah, being relaxed and showing your curiosity. That was a really good point, because sometimes we focus only on our CV, on listing our jobs or listing our education, but hobbies speak a lot about a person. So this volunteering that you did, or this 1 year abroad, this one gap year traveling through South America, wherever was your hobby, can say a lot about how ambitious you are, how much you step out of your comfort zone, and this kind of stuff are a lot of times overseen, or people don't really pay that much attention, but it's one of the ways to differentiate yourself from the competitors, because it's something you only have, probably, because it's a hobby that only you follow just for the sake of it, not because you're getting paid. It's because it's a hobby.
And after all, it's people who you will work with. So if they can get to know you as a person, not only as like the work side, it can help to maybe then mentalize how you would be as a colleague.
Yeah,
and that's the exercise that you can try to provoke.
And connect better.
Yeah,
as a person, because in the end we forget that companies and universities are run by people.
Yeah.
So if you connect with that person, maybe it can even be on a football team, whatever. Like, I know people that have talked about football during their interviews and they clicked. But I think this is a double-edged sword, right? Like maybe if you're from the competitor, now you don't click. You never know. But it's truly like that. It's connecting with people. And now we've spoken about your PhD. I want to get more details on the job, because the market here in Switzerland is super competitive. and a lot of people are struggling to get a job even after doing their bachelor's or their master's degree here in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So tell us, how was it for you?
It was another quite intense period of my life. It turns out, so at IGEM, I started I started being related to IGEM when I was back in France, so back to 2014.
Can you quickly explain what IGEM does?
Yes, so IGEM, we are a non-profit foundation in the field of synthetic biology. We started as like a competition, student competition, where students would create a project, develop, and present. And so this was created at MIT as a summer school. And every year just grow, like kept getting more people, more teams. And it became like a global competition where 400 teams from all over the world, they participate during the whole year. They develop solutions, local solutions to their problems in all over the world. And they present, they produce these projects. So from end to end, they are the ones creating the solutions, the finding the problems, finding sponsoring, working on the communication, working on the labs. And then they come together in an event to present all their projects, like being judged and so on. So we started as like one main competition of synthetic biology. And now we are growing, showing different programs, different activities. So like how to be responsible, doing all this synthetic biology, being responsible. We build a community of all people who participate in these competitions and so on. So we are advancing. Basically, our mission is to advance, to promote and help actors in the field of synthetic biology to accomplish their mission.
All right.
And be like a safe square.
And for the mortals, can you quickly explain as well what is synthetic biology? What is an example of a project that they present?
Yeah, so synthetic biology is, I have to be careful because sometimes you could say like, the way I see is like when you take organisms, like think about cells, bacteria, and you transform its behavior that it has naturally to do something that you want it to do. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a living machine. So it's an organ, like a million of organisms, bacteria, and so on, that you actually change the behavior to accomplish something. So, for example, before, like say, the science, we would produce insulin from pigs. So you take the pig, it produces naturally insulin, you extract it, and that's what we would give to people from diabetes. Now, instead of taking all this process of like taking a pig and producing it, we change bacteria, so we change its DNA, all the plasmid inside it, to produce the insulin. So a bacteria is now producing it, you just extract it, so the bacteria stay like enclosure, and that's the insulin that you're producing. So it's a domain, it's a science domain that you can use for many different projects. So there's biomanufacturing, there's how to produce energy from bacteria. There's the field of applications is quite vast. So this is really the domain of what we can do. You can produce better food. You can grow things in lab. So everything that is kind of related to biology, but engineering biology. That's the idea.
I imagine the competitions must be crazy. Like the amount of new stuff that you see, it's like you're living 5-10 years ahead, right?
Yes.
When you go to that competition.
Yeah, and what I like is to see the diversity. So the competition, we have some like village. So it's like the challenge that we have in the world. So environment challenge, climate change, and so on. But the problems students, they find it themselves. And you see such a variety of projects, such a variety of solutions that they are tackling, that they are developing. It's fascinating.
It must be, for sure.
Yeah.
And how did you get a job in that company?
So I started as a student. I participated in the competition in 2014. Actually, the story is quite interesting because I was in France and I didn't know French. I was learning French. So I was like, okay, I will say yes to everything that arrived on my email from the university. And one of these emails was like, come to this meeting where we were discussing the next year project. And I said, yeah, they will speak French. I'll be there just listening and hopefully no one asking me questions.
You just went there to practice your French.
Yes, that was my goal. Like I'll go just to meet people, local people that are there, and I'll just listen to it. So I went and I found it quite interesting. Like synthetic biology, what is this? And I kept just going to the point that the project turns out to be quite related to what I used to do. Like, so there was a part of building a 3D printer with, instead of the plastic, we put some bacteria, so you print something that is alive. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. It never worked, but it got me into the project. So I did my a small internship there for the project. And then I felt in love. I said, this is amazing. I really want to continue. I continue as like a judge of the competition, advisor. I'm a member of the committee, and I just kept in contact. So since then, I was always like, I knew everyone. I started from the very low, and I knew everything there.
So you started from the basis, as you say, from the base of the company. Actually, not even from the company, from the outside, as a participant in the competition. And how did you get until the point where you are today, where you do software and AI?
So I think things changed during COVID because we have the competition and we have the event where everyone comes together to present. And during COVID, this means that the event wouldn't happen physically. And we have I think at the time, maybe 2,000, 3,000 people in an event that was online. They needed all the software infrastructure to run that event, and they couldn't do it. So they started calling the community, the IGEMers, to see who could help. And I said, I can help. I'm doing a PhD. I do software. I have free time, nights and weekends. And
free time.
And it started like this, and I just kept doing this kind of side projects. And to the point when I finished my PhD, I was like, okay, now it's done. Let's see, what do you have to present? And then they offered me this position. Okay. And now we are kind of revamping all the tools. And of course, like everyone, trying to extract all the knowledge that we have stored on the data using AI.
I love it because it's so unconventional story. Like, it's not the typical story of, this is my CV, this is the position I saw on LinkedIn, I applied. In your case, you created your position, basically. It wasn't existing. You worked your way up the company, and only at the end, you said, okay, actually, I want to make this a full-time job. Do you have a position for me? And then they created it for you, right?
Yeah, in a sense, I never replaced anyone. There was a programmer, there were developers, but not as my position in any single point of time. In this sense, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing story. And what would you say to these people that are looking for a job in a conventional way, let's say in Switzerland, how they can get into the IT sector, into the software or AI sector here in Switzerland?
I would say you should try to understand really what you want and what you're trying to optimize for. Many cases, the job that you dream about is not exactly what it would be in reality every day in a daily life. And maybe realizing this is a huge step for you to really set the bar and what exactly you're looking for. And this also kind of guides you on choosing the right job or applying for the right places. In terms of market, IT and AI is the buzzword now. And Switzerland, since after COVID, where people are looking for remote, companies are looking for remote workers as well. Here in Switzerland, this is not an exception. So the market is quite saturated. Not only the IT, but like pharma, and there's plenty others. So I would say if you're really focusing and targeting Switzerland, what would help a lot is to know the local language, so of the canton. So here in Zurich, if you know German, this would help a lot. If you don't know German, though, I do have a tip. And this actually worked very well for me. When you write your cover letter and CV, make an effort and write in German. I hope you are already learning the language, so you know kind of the basics. Now there's even like ChatGPT and so on that can help you with some structures and some wordings. So really try to use those tools to make the language in the local, but be honest on the CV and say, I don't know German, I'm learning, but show proofs. In my case, I learned French from zero, and so I could show that I can learn a language and if I'm motivated and so on. So I got to the interview, one of the companies, and they were like, "You don't speak German?" I was like, "No, I wrote on the CV." But just it sets kind of your mentality that you, even if you don't know, you're making the effort, and I mean, then you of course you have to back up and make the effort. But it can, if there's a company that doesn't that filters out all the English CVs, for example, this would be the minimum. This was true like a few years ago. I don't know now with ChatGPT, maybe it is already kind of past. I don't.
Yeah, it's all about the attitude, as you said. It's for example, when you go to an interview and you have two different candidates and you ask, "Do you speak German?" One candidate says no. The other one says, "I'm not fluent. I'm still not fluent, but I'm able to speak a couple words." And then you say a couple words.
Yeah.
If both profiles are exactly the same, you're taking the guy that's making the effort.
Yeah.
You're taking the guy that's having this attitude. The thing about writing a CV in German is that it can be misleading for the employer, right? Because maybe they can understand that you speak German. But the motivation letter, I've never heard of it, and it's actually a good one. It's it's like showing this attitude, showing in a couple sentences that you're making the effort. And
I mean, on CV you should put that you don't speak, like you
exactly.
Like there's somewhere in the you put German A1, A2, whatever like. Don't lie. I'm not saying to lie. I'm just saying to translate. This helped for one of the offers that I got.
Because some people do write their CV in German, not that they put fluent in German in the skills, but they write the CV in German. And as they write it in German and apply to a German offer, then they expect that candidate to know German. And it's like, no, the offer was in German, my CV was in German, but I don't speak any German. So then you're out of
be sure. So in my CV, at least, I thought about this. So on the hiring process, one was the person who just reading and rejecting CVs, and the other one was the hiring manager who would work with me. And this hiring manager knew I didn't speak German. The other one didn't, because they were just like filtering out CVs and nothing else. She didn't know that I didn't speak German because she didn't get to the content. She was just rejecting the English, basically. Wow. And the other one was, I mean, that's my assumption based on what happened. I
understand.
But basically on my CV and on my cover letter, it was clearly, I didn't lie, like it was clear that I didn't speak German.
Okay. And so you would say that speaking the local language is important even to get an IT job, even to get a job in the tech industry.
I mean, unless you're focusing like the big techs, you don't need to speak German for them, like Google and so on. But if there's a huge Swiss local market, and these companies, they are more open-minded and with time, and especially in IT, but they still, if you speak German, it's quite a plus. Yeah. Like for this one, I really want to learn German. It is personal, and I really do want to finish my full German language, they say. So they got it from me. They felt that this was true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. All right. Then, in terms of advice for someone in IT, is there any certification that you would recommend? Because one of the questions I ask guests is how important is having certificates versus experience in your industry?
I would say it's half-half. Like one without the other, you need a huge, let's say, huge A or a very huge B if you don't have the A or B, But I think it can, if you have a minimum of certifications and a minimum of experience, one can support each other. So if you don't have enough certification, good, very highly good experience, this can help you, and vice versa. I think certification can give you the foundations for you to explore by yourself, and the experience is the one that you're really applying on the knowledge and extending by yourself. But that's the thing, just the experience, just the certification, or just a standard certification, standard experience, this is not enough. Like overall, all the knowledge, experience, and certifications of the whole population is kind of going up, so you have to catch up, and you have to be to see the difference. What's your difference? What makes you different from the others? And just explore that.
And is there any certificate that is hot at the moment? Anything that you recommend?
I did one from Amazon AWS for cloud architecture. I don't think this particularly helped me with during my job search, but it did. I learned a lot of the foundations of cloud computing, and I mean not the foundations, but like how the architecture, advanced architectures for cloud computing. This was the main thing that I learned, which helped me during, for example, systems design interviews. So if you understand different systems and how they can be, how you can design them, then you can try to adopt this knowledge to during an interview and so on.
All right. Okay. Thanks for sharing. And then we get to the spicy part. Salary, money. In Switzerland, well, Switzerland is known for having high salaries, and especially in tech, we know that the salaries are even higher than the average. So would you be uncomfortable sharing what is a salary range, for example, for a 4 to 5 year experienced engineer in Zurich?
So it's curious because especially after, let's say, not so recent, but some layoffs, some banks fusioning and so on, the IT sector got quite low in terms of the salary increase that you used to see, and in IT they don't exist that much anymore, unless you're really proficient in AI and some of these big techs want you. That's a different story. But like for the, let's say, common people, or like people not in this bubble on the AI world, things are quite more stable. And so there are some, if I'm not wrong, it's Swiss Dev Jobs. It's a website where they list many jobs openings. Yeah, actually, I would recommend this website if you're looking for jobs. And they also share all the salary range there. So you can see for each position what's the salary, like the salary range. And then I think it's once a year or every 6 months, a report where they do a full analysis, not only the companies, the type of jobs, the technologies, stacks, and so on, but also how things evolved year after year. Mm-hmm. So I would say this report from, if I'm not wrong, is Swiss Dev Jobs. I would point to this one.
Okay. All right. I'll leave the link in the description for people to check for salary ranges. And now talking about life in Switzerland. Switzerland is also known for having a good quality of life. And I wanted to ask you about your experience. How do you see the work-life balance here and the integration into the country and social life overall?
Yeah, it's amazing. So the IGEM Foundation it's based in US and in Paris. I'm the only one here in Switzerland because I said, okay, I want to stay in Zurich. I am not moving. And they were really kind and nice to say, okay, you can work remotely from there. I asked this because, the life balance and the quality of life, the quality of the cities here is quite nice. I lived in many different cities, but here is the place where the problems I had came from myself, not from the outside. In other different cities, you would leave and problems would come up and say, oh my God, what is this? But here, the problems, they still exist, but they're mine. Like, they come from me, not from the environment and not from the outside world, kind of. At least this was a shocking thing that I realized in the beginning.
That's a good way to say it. I've never realized about that, but it's actually true. Wow, that's a good one.
And then you try to say, okay, what can I do to kind of integrate well and not provoke problems into other people's life, right? And I think this is something that Swiss people, they do it well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a country where everything works, and indeed, if you have problems, I mean, I don't want to say because everyone can have problems, but truly, if you have problems here, it's because you're looking for them. It's because you're doing something wrong, because problems don't come at you in Switzerland. If you live a normal life.
In general, like comparing relatively, that was one of the observations I had. But then also, like I go quite often to the mountains, and summer, winter, spring, and any season is quite nice to go to the mountains. And having this kind of small city, but with all the infrastructure and all the services of capital is amazing. Particularly Zurich. I didn't live in other cities here in Switzerland, but Zurich is quite nice, well positioned, also close to other hubs in Europe, and you have everything that you want.
And what about social life? Was it difficult for you to rebuild social life here?
Yeah, I would say so. But at the same time, if I compare to France, where I was there doing my bachelor's and master's studies, and London as well, like it's quite easy to make friends during bachelor's and master's. When you move abroad, like kind of for PhD, which is kind of work, you still have some student, let's say, colleagues, but it's really more work than student life, or just for work. When you move abroad for work, if I move again, I know that it will be way harder to make friends. And I think particularly Switzerland, it's not that easy. But again, if you make the effort, if you meet people, if you really are, if you're outgoing and you, just make the effort. Just don't be shy, go for it. Find the opportunities and meet people. They appear. And now like after 7 years living here, we have a good group of friends and everything's fine. But it's also like the mentality. Even during the bachelor's in France, I could have stayed just with my very simple circle, very close friends and don't meet other people. It was the case, and I met other people. So it's really what you want to set for yourself. During studies is easier, so really profit and leverage this opportunity. If not, if you're you're working, then try to meet people.
Yeah. You need to be trying to meet people, as you said. And the moment you get comfortable and you stick to only one group, it can be dangerous, because then that's probably the moment that you stopped growing. Because, for example, the way we met was by chance at the office, because we work in the same office. But then we kept going to these networking events and to these kind of events where you always meet new people. And you just said that you've been here for 7 years, you have your group, you have your people, but you still expose yourself to these kind of opportunities to meet new people, because you never know. And the reason why we're here today, it's exactly because of that.
Exactly.
I like that, yeah. If you could tell me one thing you don't like about, normally I ask the best and the worst about every country you've lived in. About Switzerland, you've already told me all the good. So what's one bad thing? And then the same for France and for the UK.
I would say for Zurich or Switzerland, I would say probably the weather in October, November. And it's crazy because it's the same. Like I was here and just living. And sure, I live in London. You see gray sky every day. But here I realized after 3 weeks that I hadn't seen the sun for 3 weeks. And this was shocking for me. And you could feel how your mood changed. And when it's sunny, you're like, oh, this is amazing. It's the best city. And so I missed the sun during these 2 months. For UK and France, London is amazing. It's a country in a city. And you have all the nationalities, you have all the food, it's such a variety that it's amazing. Everyone should live at least 3 months in London. It's an amazing experience. But it can be exhausting. I think every time I went there, I went for a short period of, I knew it was for 1 year or 3 months. So I knew it would end. So you couldn't just enjoy and then leave. But I don't think, I think it's quite, not oppressing, but it's very intense.
It's stressful.
It's stressful. It's too big, too many things happen at the same time. And France, I would say probably the cliche of the bureaucracy, like all the paperwork that you need for every comma change. But it's amazing. France, I love France. The company now, the main office is in Paris, so I go quite often there. And it's always a pleasure to be back to France. I think people, the mentality is very different from, they have a unique way of living in terms of political and everything's French is very French.
Yeah, they are unique.
They are unique, and it's nice to have this in Europe, I would say. I like their existence in a way. But they are very bureaucratic. They could be so much better. There could be so much enhanced hopefully with I don't know if AI will help, but hopefully with many things that can be better, can be faster, can be easier. And
All right. That was a good summary of the 3 countries. And if you had a friend that is still doubting whether to move abroad or not, what would you say?
I think I would explain how life can change. And so I would tell them, look, if you stay there, you know everything. Everything's fine. You know your life, it's quite stable. Like in a sense, like your life variance won't drastically change. So you kind of are in control. If this is okay for you, then, well, you could stay. If you move abroad, there's so many things in your life that will change. Your own perception of your own country, of your own city, of your friends, of your family, the way you interact with other people, the way you see what a different person is. All this change. And you can see as an enhancement, you can see as something that you'll be curious and still know yourself more and so on. But, well, there will be some disadvantage. Like, you're a foreigner everywhere. Wherever you go, people think that you're coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Either home, either somewhere else. If you're okay with that, then move. I'll try to basically explain these two very different ways of life and make them hopefully make a good choice.
That's a good one, yeah. Some people say, I will try to convince them because this is A, B, and C. And some others say, I will never push this person because I don't want to be responsible for a bad outcome of their life. But your answer was, I would just explain the options. You either have this option or this one.
Yeah, I always think like, would be okay if you just accept that, like, you live in this world and you don't change and you know everything. Like, it is a life, and
yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to say, okay, you can accept that and live that, and everything would be also fine. I think it's just like trying to show them that there are people who prefer either, and, well, just try to help them.
It's like Matrix, right? Like showing both pills. This pill does this, the other pill does the other thing. That's it. You choose.
An informed decision.
No push.
Yes.
Yeah. I like it. All right. Now to finish the podcast, I have 3 quick questions that also need 3 short answers. The first one is your favorite local food. In your case, favorite local food from Switzerland, from the UK, and from France. So
from Switzerland, I love going to the mountains and have a rösti. It's amazing. Don't have a rösti in Zurich, have a rösti in the mountains. That's the rule. In UK, local food. Fish and chips.
All right.
Probably the best one that I had. Or, okay, no, to be fair, I really love their breakfast. So the English breakfast, at breakfast, and it's really nice. I always have one when I'm there.
I agree.
And France, it's impossible to choose. There are too many. I don't know. It's like this the weak part of.
If you had to give one recommendation to your friend that visiting France for the first time, say you must try this.
It's really hard. Oh my God, what would I choose? Then probably pick up like a patisserie, like a pastry that it's really good because it's something that you really don't have elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I would pick up like a nice chocolate patisserie and then.
All right.
But then try the rest.
Try everything.
Yeah, try everything.
That's the recommendation. One book that you recommend. And it doesn't need to be job related. It can be any topic.
If it's a different topic, I would probably recommend Body and Soul from Frank Conroy.
What's it about?
It's about a very special kid that's extremely expert, extremely good at piano, and how people around him can help him to succeed and become like a super good musician. And so it goes how he sees the music and use the music to guide his life. Like this skill that is his body and soul is one single thing with the piano. It's quite a fascinating book.
All right, good. And the last one is the best advice that you have ever received.
The best advice I had was to do a PhD. I think when I was still like thinking and so on, pursuing that path was really what I think now defined me the most in recent life, let's say. So it was, just do it.
All right. Great. That was a great interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was super nice.
If you enjoyed this conversation, follow me and share it with someone who wants to move abroad. And if you are on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, please like and rate the show with 5 stars. It really helps me a lot more than you think. Thank you very much and see you on the next one.